Hey everybody, this is a Diecast review comparison video of the newly released University of Racing 1970 Plymouth Superbird driven by Richard Petty and this older release by Franklin Mint. So right off the bat, let's start with the brand new release here. This is the all new 1970 Plymouth Superbird driven by Richard Petty, the King, by University of Racing. And if you're familiar with the University of Racing, you'll know that they have some of the best diecast replicas of NASCAR classic stock cars in the market, hands down. The detail is absolutely incredible. It's got a lot of good weight to it. It's all diecast chassis. Beautiful detailing like the burned exhaust pipes, the engine bay. If I can get it open here. Absolutely stunning, if you can see that in there. Beautiful diecast. What's neat about these is they've been around for several years now, University of Racing. They've done all types of diecast. They've done Wendell Scott's 65 Galaxy, Fred Lorenzen's Galaxy, Cale Yarborough's Mercury Cyclone, David Pearson's Ford Torino, and they also recently, in the past, I want to say 5 or 8 years, maybe a little bit longer than that, came out with the wing cars, the Dodge Daytonas, and they released a lot of cool ones. Marty Robbins, Bobby Allison, Charlie Glotzback, Buddy Baker's wing car, Richard Brickhouse, but they never released the Plymouth Superbird. So it's only fitting that their debut in the Plymouth Superbird diecast would be Richard Petty's. So a lot of cool things about this car. This is replicating Richard's 1970 Daytona 500 Plymouth Superbird, and there's some things to make you sure of that. One being that there's no window net. So if you guys recall, the window nets were not stipulated by NASCAR until post Darlington, when Richard had that really bad accident where his arm came out, and then they started putting window nets in the cars. So accurate in that sense, doesn't have the window net. And also you have just these contingencies here that are very, very close, if not exact, to some of the photos of the Superbird when they unloaded it for Speed Weeks. So things that I've done to make it a lot more accurate for the race trim when the car was taking the green flag for the 500, I've added this airlift contingency decal, some of the nose decals here that you see, and then this Goodyear decal that you see. But other than that, I really didn't do much to make this car what it is. I mean, what you see out of the box is what I got, and I got mine from Circle B Diecast, to check them out. But I don't have a lot to disparage on this diecast. This is an absolutely stunning representation of what Richard's car looked like at the Daytona 500. Accurate parts blue wheels, really nice shade of Petty blue. There's a lot of different shades of that. I don't know if this one does it justice, but it's dang close to what the real thing would have been. Now, what I want to do before I go to the Franklin Mint, I wanted to show you guys a version of what a true representation of what a Superbird at Daytona would have looked like. So this is Pete Hamilton, who drove for Petty Enterprises in the 70 season. He actually won the Daytona 500, but this car, this is by Spark. They don't make any of these stock car miniatures any longer. They're still in the game in terms of F1 and some old Trans Am stuff, but they came out with these about 10 years ago, quite a few of them. Pick one of these up. You can't touch these for less than $300-400 now. They're a 1/43 scale, so this is a 1/24. This is 1/43. This is perhaps one of the most accurate, detailed models I have in my collection. And I won't dwell too much on these, but I mean, the chin spoiler, it's stunning. Beautiful detail. So the reason I wanted to bring this one out is because University of Racing, as detailed as they get, they left some things out. They did a decent job with the A-pillar, but when you see the aluminum or stainless steel A-pillar trim, I mean, this is just painted on. This is actual metal that was riveted on. Another thing that you see is the vent window here. There's no vent window on that diecast, so marks off of that. But the biggest thing that I've noticed on this Superbird is, if you notice, and this is accurate both for Richard and Pete Hamilton's car at Daytona, as well as other super speedways, I believe, like Talladega. Not sure about Michigan, but Talladega for sure. Petty Enterprises put the roof numbers on lower than what you see here. You see this is just straight on in the middle of the roof. That's not accurate for Richard's Daytona car, so it would have been just like Pete's down here. Other than that, that's why I wanted to bring this out and show you. But they did a great job, University of Racing. If you do collect the Sparks, or if you're in the market of them, here is Richard's Riverside winner from 1970. This is a road course car, so it has the fuel cap on that side. Also has the window net. So I just wanted to show you that. These are still out there. Well, let's move on to the comparison. So what I'll do is I'll bring the Franklin Mint one out here. Move this guy out of the way for a second. So the Franklin Mint one, as you can see, the window net's giving me some issues. Franklin Mint one was released, I gotta say, I'm not 100% sure, but sometime in the 2000s, perhaps. If I'm wrong, feel free to comment. But this diecast doesn't really represent anything that was on track in 1970. In fact, all the Franklin Mint cars are direct replicas of the Petty Museum cars. Now, that's not necessarily a problem, but for historical accuracy, it does present a problem, because this car never raced as it looks in 1970. And what you have here is you have what is currently sitting in the Petty Museum, which, believe it or not, is not a real Superbird. There were only 3 Petty Superbirds in 1970. 3 or 2, but I believe the number's 3. And that could be for a whole nother video, but we're just talking about diecast right now. So the car in the Petty Museum is actually a 1970 Roadrunner, used in short tracks primarily, and sometime in maybe the 90s, I'm not sure, maybe the late 80s, for the museum they converted the short track Roadrunner into a Superbird. So interestingly enough, this is how the Superbird in the museum sits, with the exception of the Petty 75th anniversary diamond that's now on the hood and the quarter panel. But this is the car that's in the museum. Silver wheels, the contingencies the way they are. That's what we got here. I got this car quite a few years ago, probably 15 years ago. Had Dale Inman and the King sign it. But Franklin Mint is also very, very good with their detail. Take a look here at the engine bay from what you can see. Pretty dang good detail. Same with the trunk. Trunk opens. This says maiden level cross on that, but interior is very nice as well. A lot of small details. So unlike my other review with the Lionel Racing Petty 200th win car, the Pontiac, versus the Franklin Mint 200 win car, these are pretty good in terms of detail. I mean, there's really not a lot to disparage between the two. But as you can see, the camera probably picks it up. This is kind of a different shade than this. And believe it or not, this is probably closer to Petty Blue than this car. But it changed quite a bit over the years. We now have a formula for Petty Blue that's available at Petty's Garage. But back then, I mean, there was not a concise color. You know, it would change very, very slightly from race to race or whenever they built a new car. But to the comparison, you know, right off the bat, you see window net, no window net. Spoilers, no spoiler. The wheels, I'm so happy they did the Petty Blue, or excuse me, the Parts Blue wheels versus the chrome, because this is primarily what Richard was driving on, as well as Pete Hamilton. So you had those Parts Blue wheels. What's interesting about the exhaust, you know, you have the split Y exhaust, and on the Spark diecast, to bring these back, you had the split exhaust. On this car, the Franklin Mint comes out on one side, the driver's side, and that's a good shot underneath. You have some of that Parts Blue on the leaf springs, the axle, the K-frame, and then on this car, you got a black. Now, that's the only hit I have against this car. You know, true Petty car would be Petty Blue all the way around. So, got a little bit of a deduction on that. Franklin Mint did a good job replicating that. In terms of the interior, really comparable. I mean, both companies did a fine job. There's just little things that University of Racing did that are much more detailed than Franklin Mint, including the gas cap here. Contingencies are pretty decent. You know, I had to add these because I wanted to make it more accurate for the Daytona 500 version. Windshields, I'll give it to Franklin Mint. Nice chrome on the windshield and back windshield here. Not so much on the University of Racing. And again, the roof number, you know, should be lower on this car, but it's not on this car either. But overall, I mean, definitely recommend for you guys to get in your collections, especially this one. This just came out. So happy that they released this car, and happy to add it to my collection. But just wanted to show you guys, you know, the comparison, because I truly believe before we had this car, this was the best version of the Superbird you could get. Not a big fan of the 118 scales that were produced by Racing World. And then Racing Champions did a couple for the 50th anniversary that the fonts were not good at all. That's something else to look at, you know. Right font on this, a little large. University of Racing does a good job. Should be smaller like that. But no, really, really good examples of Richard's 1970 Plymouth Superbird. I really do hope they release some more cars. Not many Superbirds in the 70s season, a lot more Daytonas, but you know, would love to see a Pete Hamilton version, Ramo Stott. There's quite a few they could make. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking to pick one of these up, visit your local NASCAR diecast dealer or visit circlebdiecast.com. And yeah, happy collecting.